Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Twitter Spaces today. This is the latest in our series of Verida Network AMA sessions, and we'll be discussing revolutionizing DeFi with seamless KYC and cross-chain innovation. We're thrilled to have you join us today. My name is Yolanda, and I'll be your host for this discussion. We've got two guests with us today, Chris, the CEO and co-founder of Verida, and Eitan, the CEO of Eitan Katz, the CEO of Kima Network. Today, they'll provide insights into how the Verida-Kima partnership will transform the DeFi landscape. And don't forget to post your questions. The best questions will win $250 in Kima tokens. So post them in the comments in the original announcement post throughout this discussion. And good luck. So just to kick things off, let's hear from our guests. Chris, can you introduce Verida and yourself and how Verida fits into the broader DeFi landscape?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Yolanda, and Eitan. Obviously, it's wonderful to have you here on the call today, and looking forward to this conversation. So yeah, my role is CEO and co-founder at Verida. My background is I guess technical, and I've been involved with the architecture and design of the Verida network. The Verida network is fundamentally a self-sovereign decentralized database storage network that is designed to protect user data and allow users to own their own identity, their own data, their own credentials, and use that across both Web 2 and Web 3. We're all familiar with the large tech companies, Google, Apple, Microsoft, and there's lots of other, I guess, services that we all use online. All of those services are typically centralized, where all of your information, all of your data is controlled by those tech companies. And the model that we're introducing into Web3 is a self-sovereign model, where as an individual, you're the only person that has access to your data, your information, and you're in control of who you consent to access that information. And so one of the areas that has been, I guess, taking off, in terms of the Verida network is the use case around credentials and the ability for somebody to prove something about themselves. And in DeFi, that's a really important emerging sort of use case with, finance is regulated heavily across the world, and there's a lot of need for things like KYC for individuals and KYB. And so Verida is providing important infrastructure to allow individuals to store these types of credentials, go through a process like a KYC process once, and then share that multiple times. And so for us, DeFi is obviously a pretty important use case in Web3. The regulation around that is continuing to increase, and also the different types of DeFi use cases, things like real world assets, is emerging as well. So the important capability we're providing is the ability for people to own their information, own their data, and use that in lots of different ways across DeFi.
Great, thanks, Chris. And Eitan, maybe you can introduce yourself and Kima Network, how it all came about, and how it links into the DeFi ecosystem.
Yes, thank you, Yolanda. So Kima was born out of necessity. The founding team, we were working on a different project related to hedging strategies. One of the needs for automate those hedging strategies was access to derivatives. Back in the day, most of the derivatives were traded either within the Ethereum ecosystem or on centralized exchanges. So in order to implement our solution and also to cater for hedging strategies outside of the Ethereum ecosystem, we needed interoperability. We needed access to those assets outside of one specific ecosystem. And that is where we started looking for solutions, and we did not find anything that was sufficient either from security perspective, performance, ease of use, user experience, and so on. So we decided to build our own solution, which eventually became what Kima is today. We designed a solution that eliminated the shortcomings, the problems that we found in the available solutions, and that is what Kima is all about. So if I have to put everything in just one mission statement, Kima is trying to address the fragmentation that is caused due to technical and liquidity fragmentation in the financial space. And we are a solution that addresses the attack vectors, the attack surfaces that we see in interoperability solutions such as bridges. We don't consider ourselves as a bridge. We are a protocol that bridges can use in order to bridge assets. But it's not only about security. It's a solution that is truly asset agnostic in the broader sense of things, because we're not dealing only with moving assets between chains. We're dealing with moving value and data across ecosystems that are may not be related to blockchains. So that includes private chains, non-EVMs, EVMs, bank accounts, Web2 backend systems, you name it. We have a complete independence from the technological stack of the endpoints, and hence we were building this asset and ecosystem agnostic solution. So that's so Kima's vision is to really be the infrastructure layer to enable those interoperable transactions.
That's great. And so it sounds like Kima is really providing value beyond just Ethereum and really looking at interoperability across chain, but also beyond blockchain and Web3, just going broader than that. So I guess, Chris, from the Verida slide, how do you, can you elaborate on how Verida technology also plays into this interoperability side of things and how it helps DeFi and crypto fragmentation?
100%, yeah. And I think there's a real values alignment between Verida and Kima around interoperability, portability of data, empowering individuals to be multi-ecosystem, I guess, for want of a better word, which is why I think it's really exciting that we'll be working on some technology and POCs together. So with Verida, we have I guess ecosystems that we're already connected with in relation to credentials, relation to KYC providers. We have the ability to allow an individual to KYC once, receive a credential, and then reuse that across multiple touch points, across multiple ecosystems even. And so, from a compliance perspective, that's obviously, really powerful. That creates a better user experience, which I think we all agree on is something that's a little bit lacking at times in this space. And as a part of that story, we have built the Verida wallet, which is a mobile first application that brings together not just a crypto wallet that's multi-chain and supports EVM chains, but also other non-EVM chains, but it also allows a user to have a private key that's not just a blockchain key, but also a key that controls a decentralized identity. It allows the user to control their credentials. It allows the user to receive and send secure messages, for instance, receiving a credential and sharing that with an application for compliance purposes. So that composability, that reusability, that user experience is something that we've worked really hard on with our mobile phone application, and it's something that's got is a nice little integration pathway there that can be used to integrate lots of different ecosystems. And then lastly, the piece that's super valuable and important is user privacy. It's really important that if you have a user with sensitive information, and KYC information is incredibly sensitive, it can have your date of birth, your address, very important personally identifiable information. The Verida network is designed to protect that with a bunch of different layers. So it supports authentication, authorization, end-to-end encryption at the protocol level. So real enterprise level security, but bringing that into Web3 and using that to protect user data. And the other key part of that is regulation. So the network is designed to be regulatory compliant, things like GDPR. A lot of countries have requirements around personally identifiable information and how that's protected, and our network's designed to protect that. So, they're kind of the key things that we're helping bring, I guess, to enable Kima to kind of leverage that those sort of compliance infrastructure that we have, that storage infrastructure, and hopefully create a really streamlined user experience across a whole range of different ecosystems that the Kima is operating within.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. It's great to see how the Verida technology can really enhance user privacy as well as the user experience for users. And just to dive deeper on that, Eitan, what attracted Kima to partner with Verida, and what are the main benefits that you see for the users of the Kima network and the protocol, and what will they experience now that working on this POC, integrating Verida's KYC solution? From your perspective, what do you see?
Yeah. So one of the major use cases that Kima provides is the ability to move assets on-ramp and off-ramp, meaning the need to touch fiat currencies. Now, you can debate whether if you're just moving crypto, whether you need KYC or not. That's still debatable and dependent on various jurisdictions. What's not under debate is the fact that if you're touching fiat currencies, your footprint needs to be identified, which means that your identity needs to be associated with this transaction. And that's where KYC comes into play. Now, as Chris mentioned, interoperability, as an interoperability solution, there is a need to share those credentials between networks and the identity. And it doesn't make sense to create separate, isolated repositories of identities and information in every ecosystem that users may touch. In fact, as we move forward, the users will be less and less aware of what type of infrastructure they're using. At the end, users that will play a game will have no clue whether they're using a Solana-based game or Ethereum or a Web2 game. And yet, their identity needs to be, we cannot expect from a user experience perspective that every ecosystem now will maintain an isolated repository of information. And that's before even starting to talk about GDPR and compliance of these databases. In addition, we as a decentralized blockchain-based solution, we have no way and no intention to keep that private information as part of any of our components. So this is where we need it. This is a real need to have this kind of a solution, because if we're handling fiat, KYC is part of the process. And if KYC is part of the process, where is this information being stored? So it's either working with a third party, a centralized entity, which is an option, but this defeats the purpose of providing a blockchain-based solution that is decentralized. So this is where this synergy with Verida is manifested. We're a blockchain-based solution that can be replaced by centralized entities, but we are providing a more secure, decentralized solution to move assets between ecosystems. And it doesn't make sense for us to use a centralized solution. So this is why this match is it's a match made in heaven.
Yeah, that's great to hear that there's, some synergies between Kima and Verida, and, what you're mentioning around the connection to the real world with fiat on-ramping and off-ramping is definitely relevant. So Chris, on the note of bringing in a connection to the real world, how does Verida help enable that as well from that data side, that personal data side, and how does it sort of enable supporting a blockchain-based solution with that real-world identity and data?
Yeah, so there's a real there's a interoperability component here, which is very important with compliance. So, some of the challenges that you have with different regulatory environments is, some countries have a KYC process that looks like this, and another one has a process that looks completely different, has different data that needs to be collected, or produces kind of a different result. As I touched on before, you've got in Europe GDPR. Other countries have different regulations around data, and so you have this fragmentation, I guess, of compliance processes and regulations that need to be met. And we also have a fragmentation in a way of technology, because a lot of this technology is early. And so there's not a single silver bullet sort of technology solution, and there's not a single bullet sort of a silver bullet of regulatory compliance solution here as well. There's lots of different pieces of a puzzle that you need to provide a solution in lots of different countries. And so part of what we're doing at Verida is trying to support multiple technologies and multiple compliance processes. So this is not just through us, this is through our own ecosystem of partners. So for instance, on the technology side, we work with the Decentralized Identity Foundation, and we support verifiable credentials as a technology that meet a particular standard that's been developed. We work with the Checked network, which is a credential network designed sort of for more enterprise type use cases, working with other partners in their ecosystem that do provide KYC, KYB type services. We have a couple of other partners, Reclaim Protocol and ZK Pass, that provide what's called third-party TLS connections and provide zero-knowledge proofs that can be leveraged across Web 2 and Web 3. And we also work with Provido ID, who formerly Polygon ID, that also provide zero-knowledge proof type credentials that have their own ecosystem. So in a way, what we're doing at Verida is saying, hey, if Kima can integrate with the Verida infrastructure, the Verida wallet, the Verida SDK, and can actually pick and choose different technologies even and different partners within our respective ecosystems to tick the necessary boxes that are required for different jurisdictions. Different ecosystems have different technology requirements. You might use zero knowledge proofs over here, and it might not be feasible to use them over here on Ethereum because it's too expensive. So you use a different technology mix. So really trying to think about how you can provide a sort of a single integration point, but have lots of different optionality around supporting the compliance requirements and thinking about interoperability there. So there's some of the challenges that exist in this space. And I'd like to think that over time, there'll be a bit more consensus and some convergence around some of these technologies and the the regulations in Web3, as Eitan touched on, is still evolving. So like we're still playing a little bit in the dark there, and as there's more clarity, there'll become more certainty there on both the tech side and I think on the compliance side. So over time, Verida wants to continue to evolve, continue to provide more options, and work with our partners like Kima to make sure that we can get to an end goal that provides a really good user experience, but also ticks the boxes that are required on the tech side and on the regulation side across different regions.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, that's really great to hear that, by combining Verida and Kima, it provides users with, more options and more choice, giving them sort of more agency over their finances and their identity, as well as being very convenient with it being an integration point. Right. So I guess it'd be good to check in with the audience and just make sure everyone's posting some questions for Eitan and Chris. Just a reminder that the best questions will win $250 in Kima tokens. Eitan, I guess, what does the roadmap look like for Kima, and how does this partnership influence Kima's longer term goals?
Yeah, so we're still in development phase, although we're very soon going to roll out our mainnet. So everything that we do is still in beta, and we have pretty significant plans for the coming few months. One major milestone is the mainnet rollout, and once we do that rollout, we will support. Today we support 10 blockchains, but we have a backlog of additional chains based on demand from our beta users. So we're going to continuously expand the selection of networks that we support, and we enable the transfer of value and data between. Another major milestone, and I talked about the on-ramp and off-ramp, the integration with the fiat. So that's where a solution like Verida is a must. So we plan in Q4 to add the support for fiat initially in Europe as a first jurisdiction, and then expand, just as we expand in the network, the blockchains, we will expand the jurisdictions in which we support fiat. After Europe, we have plans to expand to other regions. I would say the third axis of development and progress is in the functionality. So initially, we started with just the very basic transfer of value between chains. We're adding the ability to transfer data between chains, and we're now adding solutions to cater for very specific use cases coming from our beta users. Use cases such as deliver versus payment, DVP, coming from financial institutions, and PVP, payment versus payment. Basically, those are transactions where there are two counterparties that want to swap a payment and an asset in an atomic transaction. So this is something that we're going to introduce and cater for financial institutions and regulated entities. So yeah, these are I would say the major milestones that we have in the coming 9 to 12 months.
That's really exciting to hear. There's lots coming up, especially with the mainnet launch. And in terms of if people want to learn more about Kima and some of the upcoming milestones, where should they go and look and find out more?
So, Kima.network, that's the main hub of information. There are quite a few links that link to a deeper set of documents. We have white papers, tech papers. We have more technical SDK documentation. I also encourage everyone to look at our Medium and LinkedIn and Twitter. We're very active in posting posts about the way we see the world, the upcoming capabilities, the partnership announcements. Our social media links should be a very good source of information.
Wonderful, thank you. And Chris, maybe you can paint a bit of a picture around some of Verida's future plans and upcoming milestones on the roadmap.
Yeah, look, we've got a lot on our roadmap. I'll probably just try and focus on the things I think will be most relevant with the work we're looking to do doing with Kima. So we are, at the moment, we have our mobile phone application, the Verida wallet, which is the key, I guess, interface for end users to receive and store KYC credentials and interact with different blockchains. We're in the process of developing the Verida Vault, which is a web-based version of the mobile app. And what that'll allow is users to leverage the Verida technology, the storage engine, the credentials, and likes of Kima to leverage that without requiring our mobile app. So providing a seamless integration there that's completely web native. And that provides a lot more, I guess, flexibility and to our point earlier, more interoperability, allowing people to sort of sign in and use existing crypto wallets, and give user more choice. A user can have a key and use a powerful mobile app, or they can use a web-based application and have the same output. The other thing that's, I think, really important to highlight, and Eitan, we haven't actually talked about this as yet, but we've recently announced Verida is introducing what we're calling self-sovereign compute, which is effectively thinking about users having their own data, but there's also compute that needs to occur. And in the future world we see is you're going to have agents that are kind of like code that's acting on behalf of a user to perform different interactions. And we've seen this a lot with the emergence of AI. There's a lot of interest in AI that can use your personal data, and to do that you need compute that can access data in a privacy preserving way. And we'll actually be releasing a POC and an alpha of what we're calling the user data API. And that's a way where end users can effectively authorize a third party, such as Kima, to have access or to run requests over user data. And so that allows, for instance, a user to say, hey, I'm going to give permission Kima to at any time generate a zero knowledge proof using a credential that I have for the purposes of meeting any KYC requirements. And so that can happen seamlessly without the user needing to do anything behind the scenes, because the user's pre-authorized that. But the security model, the technology is all the same under the hood. It's just that the user's not having to almost like not needing to sign a crypto transaction all the time. There's crypto transactions that are occurring for you because you've already pre-committed to that. And we think that that's going to be really, really important for improving user experience. And on the flip side, it provides us an alternative integration path for Kima, rather than needing to integrate a SDK, but actually being able to integrate to an API with a more traditional type Web2 authentication and security flow. So that's something that again, we're working towards probably Q4 as well, but something that we think is going to provide a better experience for users, but also a better integration experience for the Kima developers.
That's great. Chris, thank you for that. And where can people find out more about Verida and some of the upcoming developments?
Yeah, so very similar to Kima. Kima has a Kima.network. Verida has Verida.network. So check that out if you haven't already. Similar story, we have a lot of great content on our Medium. If you're interested in the technology, it's a great place to deep dive. Obviously, you can, if you're on the Twitter Spaces today or the YouTube, you can see our YouTube and our Twitter accounts, which is, or X, sorry, which is Verida_IO. So they're probably the best places to go. And if you're a builder and you're interested in this stuff, definitely check out our Discord and our developer documentation linked on our website. If you're curious about this from an end user perspective, we have Verida missions, which is a way for you to download our mobile app and play around with some of this technology with some of our ecosystem partners. And if you're interested in the Verida token and how that works, on the Verida network, we have a community page that goes deeper into the token and how that's designed to create a new data economy.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for sharing those future plans and detailed insights. It's great to see such forward-thinking strategies sort of impacting the DeFi ecosystem. So now let's open the floor to questions from our audience. We've got quite a few questions coming through. Remember, the best questions will win $250 in Kima tokens, so make sure you post them. The first question is for either Chris or Eitan, or maybe both of you can answer. How does your solution ensure compliance with regulatory requirements while maintaining decentralization? And that one's from Slimzy 455.
Do you have a first crack at that, Eitan?
So you probably can answer the how the magic happens. I can answer from the Kima perspective. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. It's worthwhile to make it clear. We're a solution that doesn't store any private information, and so we only move value and data between chains. We do not store that data. Our ledger only stores the information of the transaction, the attributes of the transaction, nothing related to the identity of who did the transaction. So this is why we need a complementary solution to provide those capabilities in a self-sovereign way, in a way that can still allow us to fulfill transactions that by law mandate KYC. So that was a big missing part for us for those transactions, and that is the added value that we're getting from Verida. Chris, you may want to refer to the.
Yeah, I can expand on that on the tech side a little bit. So there's two key parts to this question. One is compliance with the regulatory requirements, and the other part of it is I guess maintaining decentralization. And could probably talk for quite a while about both of those. But at a high level, as touched on before, the regulatory requirements are different across different countries, and if you're a centralized organization, you have a mandate often to store personally identifiable information and do that in a way that protects it. And there can be very large fines, particularly in Europe, if you don't adequately protect that personal information. And so the Verida technology is designed to provide a technology solution to those compliance requirements where the user data is protected. It's a private key only controlled by that user, so nobody else can access that data. So you have implicitly this sort of technological compliance that the Verida network is providing. And then on the financial side, as we touched on, there's different requirements around verifying that if a transaction occurs, a financial transaction occurs, that there's some confidence perhaps that the parties of that transaction, aren't on a blacklist, they're not a terrorist. There's a whole range of compliance pieces that need to occur there by law, and there's no way around that. That's just the real world and how it operates. And so there's a bit of a tension there, and how do we provide technology that allows a transaction to occur in a decentralized way, but not put private information on a blockchain? How do we effectively use technology and have compliance processes to say, hey, this party to a transaction has completed and passed all the necessary checks, but we're not going to disclose who they are. And we're going to use cryptography. We're going to use, things like zero knowledge proofs and credentials and selective disclosure to be able to prove that sufficient level for the transaction to occur and meet regulation. without actually disclosing that sensitive information and breaking the other side of regulation, which is around privacy of information for an individual. And then on the decentralization side, there's lots of layers to decentralization. But at the end of the day, the Verida approach is to ensure that all of the storage that's storing user data is decentralized. There's lots of nodes that are distributed globally. The nodes are region aware, so that means as a user you can guarantee your data is staying in Europe. It's not, even though it's encrypted, it's not leaving the Eurozone, which is an important regulatory requirement. But we're doing that in an environment that is still decentralized. There's still lots of different nodes that your data can live on, and as a user, you have a key that controls your data, controls where it is, it controls who has access to it, and that's really the ultimate definition of decentralization. The user is ultimately in control. Which is a key part of the solution that both Kima and Verida are respectively building here.
Yeah, just to go deeper on that, someone has asked the question around what specific Verida technologies will be integrated into Kima Network and how will they enhance user security and privacy? Can we compare this to the reliability of cold wallet storage?
That's an interesting question. Kima, do you want to go, Eitan?
Yeah, so without getting too deep into the technology, the answer is, in fact, pretty simple. And Chris, as you said earlier, what we need is some kind of a zero knowledge verification that person completed KYC and the information resides somewhere. And if someone asks for it, an authority would ask for it, it's available. That's all we need to know. We just need to provide this link to that private information with the right credentials. It can be revealed. We don't need to know anything about it. We just need this yes or no. Can we approve that transaction with that user that passed through the KYC process? And this is the beauty of it, because the problem is complex. At the end of the day, the solution for Kima is very simple. We just need this Boolean answer, yes or no. We do the same thing with transactions for KYT, because we need to know whether a transaction is sourced from an address that is not blacklisted somewhere. We don't need the whole complexity of, let's see how we monitor transactions and how can we make sure yes or no. We just use a service that tells us, yes, this address is okay. You can accept its funds and send the funds to another address, which is okay as well. So very complex problem. The solution is very simple. At the interface to the solution is very simple, and that's what we need. That's the beauty of this integration.
Yeah, I won't add too much to that, but exactly spot on there. On the integration side, there's also, I guess, the user experience, where the user interfaces between both Verida and the Kima network. And that's where, as I sort of touched on before, there's a few different integration pathways there that we'll be working through, whether that's with the Verida wallet, the web-based Web Vault, or through this new user data API that can sort of act on behalf of a user to streamline that experience. So there's a few different pieces of that puzzle which we'll get to as a part of our POC.
Thank you. That sounds really exciting. In terms of people being able to sort of participate in DeFi, but not necessarily handing over all of their information. They're just providing that sort of confirmation, a trust confirmation and verification that about their identity instead of all of their information. So another question that we've got from the audience is around the role of the token. So the role of the Kima token, the role of the Verida token in the ecosystem. What is its, utility and use case, and where can people currently buy it? Not sure who wants to go first on that one. Maybe Chris, you can have it.
I can jump in on that one. Yeah, sure. So the Verida token is VDA, and it's really designed for effectively providing the storage infrastructure for the Verida network. So we've been talking about the users storing these credentials somewhere. So effectively, as a user, you pay a very small fee to basically store your credentials, your data, and you pay for that in the Verida token. And then we have a global network of storage nodes that are effectively running these data storage nodes on the Verida network. And those node operators stake the token to have a right to earn a revenue stream from users. And then their nodes are discoverable and can be used to store data for end users. Obviously, here we're talking about credentials, which are a small amount of data. However, our bigger vision is more than credentials. It's about allowing people to pull all of their data from every single platform, whether that's from pulling all of your social media posts from X and from Meta, all of your web browsing history from Google, or all of your 10 years of Gmail history, your email history, Telegram history, being able to pull and own all of your data from centralized platforms, and then use that in lots of interesting ways, whether that's for personal AI, whether that's for generating proofs about your health so that you can access decentralized health insurance. We see this real larger picture here of a range of new products and services that disrupt the current incumbents across lots of industries. And to do that, you need access to your own data and be able to prove that. And I'm sort of jumping ahead a little bit here, but my hope here with the relationship that we're building with Kima is that Kima will be instrumental in providing a lot of financial infrastructure here for a lot of these new industries. And so on Verida's side, by being able to enable these types of use cases, like a decentralized health insurance that needs user data, you suddenly unlock all these new types of financial transactions that can occur, whether that's in terms of insurance claims and rebates and subsidies and all sorts of things. So I feel like we're building a foundation here that brings financial equity, DeFi, compliance, fiat, on and off ramps, and user data, which are all of the fundamental building blocks that are needed, I think, to allow this broader Web3 movement to move into lots of different industry segments, which I think longer term is really exciting.
And from the Kima perspective, the token is first and foremost a way to secure the network. So we're a proof of stake network. So the validators need to stake Kima tokens to make sure that they're good citizens in this ecosystem. So that's the number one utility. Obviously, Kima holders can contribute to the security of the network by delegating Kima tokens to those validators that do the compute work of the cryptography, basically calculations to validate the transactions and sign them. And the third thing is the gas. Kima tokens is the gas token of the Kima network. So our customers, our applications, we do not serve end users per se. So applications that need the interoperability capabilities need to integrate or use the Kima API in order to invoke Kima transactions that transfer value, and they pay with Kima tokens as gas. At the end of the day, all the fees that we collect are distributed between the ecosystem stakeholders, which include liquidity providers, the node operators that participate in the getting a portion of the fees that the network collects. Just regarding the token, it's not yet available. That's an important note to make. We plan RTG later this year. So I already saw several sites that claim to sell the Kima token. Beware of those. Don't fall into the hands of scammers. The token is not yet available. If you want to stay in touch with us, just follow us on the social media. We will announce when the TG takes place, where exactly it's being listed, and at what date. So just beware of scammers.
That's a really good point you make. Verida, we launched our token, I think 6 to 8 weeks ago, and there's definitely been a lot of scammers that are trying to, infiltrate our community or try and steal people's funds. So for those who are out there interested in the Verida token, please check the Verida.network website. We have a specific token page. It lists the official exchanges, the token address, the decentralized exchanges where you can get the tokens. So for us, we have Gate, Mexi, and Bitpanda, and I think QuickSwap and a couple of others. So please check the official websites for all projects before you go too deep into putting your hard-earned funds into a project.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder. And look, we've just had another question around security, so may as well dive into that one. What security protocols and measures does Kima and Verida have and implement to safeguard users' funds and data against potential threats such as hacks or exploits? Because, this is a really topical thing. So maybe Eitan, if you want to go first on that one.
Yeah. So, that's a great question. It's a great topic. Actually, this is our number one feature is basically security. Then that's what brought us to do what we're doing. So just to put things in a very simplistic way, there are way more deeper explanations in our white papers. So that's a good reference to go and read more. But I would say that from a security perspective, there are several layers of security that we've built. First and foremost is the fact that it's not about what we do, but rather what we're not doing. So when one of our main design principles was to not just minimize, but completely eliminate as many attack surfaces as possible. So if you look at interoperability protocols and bridges, in the past 2 to 3 years, we've seen billions of dollars, literally billions of dollars, stolen through hacks. And one of the main common denominators of these hacks, there are 2 attack surfaces. One is bugs and code that was exploited in the smart contracts. And the way they were designed and developed to store funds for bridging purposes. And the second was the way the keys for those smart contracts that stored the funds were managed. So through various types of attacks, like phishing attacks, hackers managed to take over the keys and store and steal funds. So Kima doesn't use none of those. There's no smart contract that stores funds. There are no keys that are available for someone to steal. We just removed all of these instead of just doing audits to mitigate the problem. And by the way, 100% of the hacked smart contracts were audited. So auditing is not a foolproof solution. We eliminated the use of smart contracts. So there are no smart contracts to exploit, and that is the best way to protect funds in our minds. On top of what we're not doing and the way we do it, we have additional layers of security, such as the private keys that store the funds are being broken down to shards. The shards are being distributed among the validators. And then there's a battle-tested cryptographic algorithm for threshold signature scheme, or TSS, to be able to sign withdrawal transactions. So, and on top of that, those shards are being stored on a hardware component on a module with the CPUs. So again, this is getting a bit complex, and we document everything is open source and documented. So I encourage everyone who's interested in that to go read more. We don't have the time, but the point is that We have a patent pending solution with a unique architecture that doesn't use smart contracts due to the risk and vulnerabilities, and some additional security layers, including hardware-based layers on top of that.
That's a great answer, Eitan. I'll touch just quickly. I'm conscious of everyone's time. I'll just touch on the data side, on the Verida angle. Similar story. We have a white paper. Version 2 was released a few months ago and has a lot of detail. And similarly, we have a GitHub. The vast majority of our code, all of our protocol code is open source. Has been audited. I totally agree. I don't think audits are the only solution, but they are a part of the mix. Yeah, all of our code is open source and available there for people to dive into and understand. Where we're a little bit unique, there are other data storage solutions in Web3, but none have the built-in end-to-end encryption and the built-in authorization and authentication that we have in our protocol. We've designed this to be more in line with, I guess, enterprise systems where you have traditional authentication. We use traditional things like access and refresh tokens that can be revoked. We have end-to-end encryption. We have rotating encryption keys. We have a whole range of security measures built into our protocol, which is very different from other decentralized storage platforms, which for the most part don't have any concept of encryption, but encryption can be built on as an extension on top of that, which has a whole range of limitations and some other security issues along the way as well. So for us, this is a really important part of our infrastructure offering, as well as this built-in security model in the core level protocol. And there's a lot of attack vectors in this space. There's a lot of opportunities for hacks and exploits. But I think one of the things that's really important to highlight is that I think I saw a stat that 70% of mass data breaches are as a result of social engineering. So that's where you have a centralized platform and somebody's able to attack an employee and gain access to a system through some sort of social engineering or some sort of phishing attempt. And then from there get access to a system. And if you do that in a centralized system, you get access to perhaps millions and millions of people's data. And that's a huge risk. And the model that we have here is very different. Every individual has their own key. The only way that you could get the data of millions of people is if you went and hacked a million different, mobile devices or a million different computers, and that is just not economically viable. So the model here is completely different. And if we think about scalability from a security perspective, this is a type of system where the bigger it gets, the harder it is to hack at scale. Which is the complete opposite of centralized systems, where the bigger they are, the more vulnerable they are to attack. There's more employees to exploit. There's more technology that's being used, and the economic incentive to hack is much larger because the return is so much greater with lots of users. So there's a lot of different angles to think about security, and I think that one of the ones that isn't totally understood necessarily is that economic angle, which is really important. But yeah, fantastic question.
Great. Thank you, Chris and Eitan, for sharing your responses on security. It's definitely one of the always important and topical areas of discussion. And look, I think we're coming up on time now. So thank you again to our guests, Chris and Eitan, for sharing all of your valuable insights. The partnership between Verida and Kima is quite exciting, especially in terms of how you guys can come together to provide benefits around security, compliance in multiple regions, interoperability. The list kind of goes on, but it's great to see how it impacts the DeFi space and beyond. So thank you again to everyone who joined us and participated in the discussion. We had way more questions than we had time to cover off, but keep posting them and keep the conversation going on X. Make sure you follow Verida and Kima on social media for the latest updates coming up. And don't forget to check if your question was selected for the Kima token prize. We'll be posting that on social media and getting in touch via DMs. So thank you again, and see you all next time.
Thanks, Eitan, and thanks for moderating and hosting, Yolanda. Much appreciated. Did a great job.
Thank you, Yolanda. Thank you, Chris. I had a lot of fun, so thank you.
Awesome. All right, thanks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.